Who is the next James Bond? The world's most famous spy is getting a fresh start. Again. James Bond 007 himself is officially being rebooted, and the entire film world is watching to see what that actually means. After decades of suave tuxedos, shaken martinis, exploding pens, and brooding reinventions, the Bond franchise is heading into its most uncertain and maybe most exciting chapter yet. We got new producers, a new studio in control, a major tonal reset on the horizon, and of course the big question, who the hell is the next James Bond? So let's dive into what we actually know about the next era of Bond, what we think we know, and what all of this could mean for the future of one of cinema's longest-running legends. So here's where things currently stand. After No Time to Die closed the Daniel Craig era back in 2021, quite literally with a bang, the Bond franchise found itself in limbo. Craig's take on 007 was easily one of the most grounded, emotional, and human portrayals that the character's ever had. He wasn't the invincible playboy with a smirk and a pun for every punch, with all due respect to the likes of Pierce Brosnan. Craig's Bond bled. He grieved. He grew old, and by the end, his story actually had an ending, something no Bond actor before him had ever been given. That ending left the franchise at a crossroads. Do you try to pick up where Craig left off, or do you just wipe the slate clean and start fresh? Well, the answer seems to be the latter, because behind the scenes, something big has changed.
Positively shocking.
For decades, the Bond series has been tightly controlled by Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson, the guardians of the Bond legacy. Every casting decision, every story direction, every creative choice had to go through them. But now, after Amazon's purchase of MGM, there's a brand new power structure. Amazon MGM Studios now has full creative control of the franchise, meaning for the first time in Bond history, the studio itself is actually calling the shots. Broccoli and Wilson still co-own the property, but Amazon is fully in the driver's seat. And when you look at what Amazon's done in entertainment lately, The Boys, Fallout, Reacher, it's clear they're not shy about taking some big swings, and this is one of them. Because they want to make Bond relevant for a new generation while still keeping that cinematic prestige that has spanned decades. And to do that, they've brought in two major names to produce the next Bond film. Amy Pascal, who helped shape Spider-Man into the powerhouse franchise it is today, and David Heyman, the guy behind a lot of films you might recognize like Harry Potter or maybe Barbie. See, that's a lot of blockbuster firepower right there. So yeah, this isn't going to be a small reset, it's a full-scale reimagining, and that leads us to one of the biggest announcements so far, the director. The studio has officially tabbed Denis Villeneuve to direct the next Bond film. Now, he's known for his visionary work on Arrival, Blade Runner 2049, and of course, the Dune movies. Films with sweeping scale, immersive world building, and a lot of layered characters. He has big ambition with big visuals, big storytelling chops. If you couldn't tell, they're going big for Bond. He even said in his own words that Bond is sacred territory to him, that he grew up watching Bond films with his dad. So why does that matter? Because the director is the one who sets the tone. Now, a Bond movie under him promises to be more than gadgets and car chases. It has the potential to have a distinctive cinematic voice with rich visuals and some complex characters, maybe even a darker, more contemplative edge. If any director can elevate Bond into something fresh while still honoring its roots, it's someone like Villeneuve. Here's an interesting twist. For years, many fans and insiders thought it might be the era of Christopher Nolan taking on Bond, myself included. Nolan's been publicly and privately rumored for ages and is a die-hard Bond film fan himself. And it's easy to see why. His work on the Batman trilogy, his cerebral thrillers, his visual mastery, he was seen as the perfect match to reinvent Bond. The fact that it's not happening, at least for now, is significant because it tells us that Amazon MGM are choosing a slightly different path. They still want some prestige, but maybe more page-turning world building rather than just puzzle thriller. Villeneuve gives them certainly a cinematic idea that he can be visually ambitious, but also comfortable with spectacle. Nolan may have taken Bond into super literary or super serious territory, while Villeneuve might strike a balance between blockbuster and art house. So the major director on board, Pascal and Heyman producing, and Amazon steering the ship, things are aligning for a major event. But the one piece we still haven't locked in, And it's the one piece, frankly, that everyone really cares about is who is the next James Bond? Well, the casting of Bond is virtually a global event every single time it happens. It's like the Olympics of Hollywood rumor mills. Everyone has an opinion, everyone swears they got the inside info, but as of now, nothing's been officially announced. The rumor mill's still spinning like a golden gun cylinder, though, because for years, one name dominated the conversation: Idris Elba. Fans have been shouting his name since, 2012, and for good reason. He checks every box, effortlessly cool, he's charismatic, he's commanding. He could absolutely bring a modern sophistication to Bond, but the problem? Father Time. By the time this reboot actually gets rolling, he's gonna be in his mid-50s. He said himself he's probably aged out of the role, and the evidence suggests that Amazon is looking younger. After all, Daniel Craig was 37 when Casino Royale debuted in 2006, and his tenure lasted 15 years. The studio probably wants someone in their 30s, someone who can do multiple films and build an entirely new era themselves. So who's in the running right now? Well, one of the names that's gained massive buzz as of late is Anthony Boyle. He might not be a true household name yet, but insiders have him pegged as a favorite. He's an Irish actor you've probably most recently seen in House of Guinness, as covered here on ScreenRant. And at 31 years old, he fits the young but established profile perfectly. If Amazon wants a long-term Bond, someone they can build multiple films around, he makes a lot of sense. Other names keep popping up. Aaron Taylor Johnson's been linked to Bond rumors for a while now. He's got the physicality, he's British, and his filmography spans indie drama to big franchise work. His name keeps surfacing. He's safe, he's bankable, he's experienced. And then there's guys like Callum Turner, early 30s, clear profile and supporting cast of big films, and he's moving upward himself. He's got the looks, he's got the age, he's got the ability and plausibility. And then we even have wild cards, like Henry Cavill, who actually auditioned for Bond back in the day. He lost to Craig, but the idea of him coming full circle is a seductive thought, though his schedule and age might make that a little difficult. Amazon seems to be hunting younger, rising stars. A 30-something Bond who might carry the franchise for, say, a decade or longer. That means the next Bond might be in your 30s, confident, but still improving, less of a done man, more of an agent on the rise, if you will. And when you pair that with Villeneuve as director, Pascal, Heyman, Amazon, you start to imagine what the next Bond film might actually feel like. Still, at its core, Bond. Because this is all about being recognizably Bond. And speaking of that, it's important to talk about what Craig left behind, and that's the legacy. Daniel Craig's run reinvigorated the franchise. Casino Royale reintroduced Bond in a gritty, realistic fashion. Skyfall picked up and proved that Bond could be a cinematic event with deep emotional beats. No Time to Die closed off his story in a way no previous Bond had done before, with more human, more vulnerable, and more final take. His Bond had a beginning, a middle, and an end, and that set the bar really high. Any new Bond has to live up to that legacy. He has to feel like 007 while also bringing something new. And given what we're seeing, the new creative control and a new directorial direction, Amazon's clearly signaling that this is a new era. The tuxedo, sure, that'll be there. The martini, probably. The Aston Martin, hopefully. Almost certainly, let's be real. But how those elements are actually used and how the story is told and how Bond operates in the world, that's where we're going to see the change. So what does that mean for the tone? Well, we might get a Bond that's cinematic and grand, but also introspective. Maybe the stakes will be global in scale, sure, but maybe with a little more psychological weight too. And we also have emerging technology like AI to play into factor as well. We might see locales that we've never visited in a Bond film, and stuff that seems plausible rather than just pure fantasy. A Bond that's younger, less established, still finding his swagger. It's not a playbook we've really seen before with Bond, and that excites me. And I hope it excites you as well. So what do you got to watch for next? Well, first, that actor announcement. And once that drops, we're going to have a clear sense of the age profile and the direction that this movie's actually going to take. I also can't wait to see who the Bond villain is. The villain is almost as important as James Bond in all of his films, and it must be a worthy adversary that sets the tone for the movie. And that's exciting, because with Amazon in control, the possibilities are big. They want to build a new era, and they're doing it with the weight of Daniel Craig's legacy behind them. And if you ask me, this is one of the most exciting moments for Bond in decades for that reason, because it's not just another film, it's total reinvention and a new era of Bond that is both exciting and full of enormously high expectations. The next James Bond is coming. The question isn't if, it's who. And when he does finally step into frame, adjust his cufflinks and say those legendary words, Bond. James Bond. Well, we'll be there in the theater holding our breath, ready to meet him and probably ready to criticize as well. But no matter how many times they reboot him, truly, there's still only one 007.